How's it going, guys? My name is Clinton Hughes, and today I'm bringing a tutorial on how to pre-visualize your custom paint job for your Gunpla through Photoshop or any other kind of photo editing program. Um, if you guys don't have Photoshop, there's plenty of free resources out there. GIMP is a good program that's free. And I'll go ahead and supply a couple links down in the description below. Um, First, I'd like to give a shout out to Jason Brown and Caleb Neff over at Gundam Builders on the Facebook page for recommending I do this tutorial video. I hope it helps you guys out, and without any further ado, let's jump in. So as you can see here, this is a Gundam Unicorn Banshee that I have customized through Photoshop. Um, it's really cool. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm selecting certain pieces and designating them to layers, so then I can apply a kind of hue shift or colorize them so I can get a better idea of how the actual paint job will look. So here, I'll just give you a couple examples. I'll flip through them right here. So this is like a gold and a silver, and you can get really creative. You can do pretty much anything you'd like to, or you can get completely crazy. You can mess with the interframe here. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and show you guys how I did this. And so for example, I have a Master Grade 00 riser that I plan on building, and I want to try and pre-visualize what kind of colors I'd like to use on it. So first thing I did here, as you saw, is I unlocked the layer so that it's editable. What you do next is you'll want to grab the polygonal lasso tool. And if you're in a different program, just look for the lasso tool. It should be fairly obvious. Most of them have the same kind of logo attached to them. So we'll go ahead and click on that. Okay, so first thing, the thing that I like to do is kind of focus on the colors. So here's like the blue on the chest and the wings, and then you also got your red here on like the head camera, as well as the bottom of the torso and the feet. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the red. So we'll zoom in here nice and close, and we'll take our polygon lasso tool, and we'll basically just try to outline it by pointing and clicking and just following the curves the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is basically just to help you visualize how it's going to look, so you don't have to be super crazy with it. It can be a little tedious depending on the detail of the model, but I mean, if anyone's planning on building any Gunpla, then I'm sure you guys are used to the tedium, so take as much time as you'd like on it. So I've selected one piece right there, and say I want to select multiple pieces in one go. What I'll do now is I'll hold down the shift button, and you can see that little plus sign showed up right there. So you hold down the shift before you start the next one, make your first click, and you can let go of the shift. And then we'll just go ahead and trace this. Okay, there's number 2. We'll hold shift again, get this last piece here. And the further zoomed in you are, the easier it's going to be. I'm pretty used to working in Photoshop and just kind of guessing where the exact pixels will be, so I'm just doing the best I can here. So we'll go ahead and get these feet here as well. Oops, and as you see, I messed up there. No worries, you can always hit the undo button. To undo in Photoshop, it's just edit and undo polygon lasso tool, or Command Z for a shortcut if you accidentally don't hit the shift hard enough or misclicking it. So we'll get these feet here. Bear with me here. I know it's probably a little boring watching this, but I mean, you could probably skip through this part if you get the gist of what I'm talking about, and then get to the next part. But I'm going to continue this. Won't take too much longer. Okay, so we got the feet, and the red of the torso selected. I guess I'll go ahead and get that chin too up there. It's not very, visible, but we'll go ahead and get it anyways. Okay, so you got all the colors selected. Now what you want to do, we are going to hit Control C and then Command Shift, holding it together, and you'll hit V. So what that does is it pastes what you outlined into a new layer right here. We'll go ahead and double click this and name it red. Now if you click on the original layer and you hit the eye icon, you can see that on the red layer, this is everything that we have selected. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get these blue sections here, and I'll basically just fast forward through the video, save a little bit of time, and then we'll come back. Okay, so one important thing that I forgot to mention before I left is you see here on this chest piece where it's mostly blue, but then you also got these yellow pieces. Let's say that you don't want that selected as part of your selection. If you want to basically cut out a shape, cut this out, what you do is you're going to hit the Option key, at least on Mac. I'm not entirely sure what it is for Windows, but pretty much any kind of program you're able to subtract this. You can also you also have the option of, once you hit Control C and you bring it to a new layer, you can always just use an eraser tool and then erase this from the layer, and then you still have that on your original first layer. But we'll go ahead and hit the minus key and cut this part out. Okay, we'll do it one more time. I don't like that selection. And if, say, you start doing it, you don't like it, just hit the Escape key to stop it, and you can start over again. Okay. Okay, so I didn't do the wings yet, but I did get the body and the wrists and the top parts that are attached to the shoulders. I think that's a good enough start for now. So now what I'm going to do, like before, I'm going to hit Command C to copy what I have selected. I'm going to hit Command Shift V to make a new layer. Go ahead and rename that to blue for body and wrists. Okay, so now on to the important part and the most fun part. Now that you have your layer selected, let's say that we wanted to make his chest purple. What we'll do is we'll select that blue, we'll go up to Image, Adjustments, and then you'll be looking for Hue Saturation. So in any other program that you're using, it might be in a different window, but that's the thing you're always looking for to change, is the hue and the saturation. So we'll go ahead and click that. Okay, and what's really cool in Photoshop, alright, so I'm just going to give you guys an example. There's two ways to do this. You can adjust the hue, and you can see it start changing just like that. Looking beautiful. And you can change it to any color you'd like right there. But what I actually prefer to do, instead of adjusting just the hue, I click Colorize. That way I have a little more control, and it's a little more, it's not going to affect any other colors. It's going to color them all one color, even if it's got multiple in it, which is really nice. And then say I wanted like a purple right there. So right now it's looking kind of like a dull purple. What we can do if you want to make it a little more vibrant is we can adjust the saturation. So we're going to take the saturation, slide it up, and you can already see it's getting a lot more pretty right there. And then the last value you have to mess with is the lightness. So say it's looking a little too bright for me, I can always move the lightness down, and that's really going to make it like a dark, kind of like a Unit 1 from Neon Genesis Evangelion color right there. So So for right now, I'm just going to leave that at purple. We can always mess with it later. We'll go ahead and hit OK. Cool. So now let's mess with the red a little bit. So I'm thinking, I mean, we could also make it the exact same color as the purple, and I'm kind of curious how that would look, but we can just toy around with it for a little bit. So we'll hit colorize again. And if you're actually wanting to get it an exact match, you have your actual values right here. What you could do is you could just copy that or write them down real quick, and then just go over to your other layer and then input the same values to get make it an exact match. But since I forgot to do that, I'm just going to do this and just try my best to match it. That actually looks pretty badass with the blue like that. I'm going to darken that blue a little bit. That's already looking pretty sick right there. I'm not sure if I'll actually, go with that, but, just for toying around, it looks pretty good right off the bat. So say you wanted to experiment, what you could do is just duplicate this layer right here. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate. Actually, let's duplicate the red layer. So you'll right click, hit duplicate, and we'll just do red 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the eye on that, hit the eye on this as well. So because the layers are stacked on top of each other and they're the exact same image, if you make one adjustment to here, let's go to red 2, let's change this. Let's hit colorize. I'll do this right there. That kind of looks cool. Alright, so now that we've made that adjustment on one layer, we want to flip back and forth. We'll just hit the eye on the top layer, and then boom, you can just kind of flip back and forth to see, which colors you like the most. Okay. And then say, I'm going to go ahead and minimize all this and go back to original layer, not minimize, but hit the eye icon. And then let's go ahead and get those yellow pieces, the vents right there. I'm going to hit down that shift key. Okay. Control C, Command Shift V, new layer. Go ahead and name it yellow vent. And then these are just naming conventions that I'm coming up with. You can name it however you'd like. And we'll go ahead and hit adjust, use saturation. And then we'll just play around here. That's pretty cool. I like that kind of green right there. As you can see, my computer is almost full with all the junk that I put on it. Okay. So again, we'll go ahead and do all of these. So that's a pretty interesting look right there. I'm not sure it's my favorite, but that is pretty much the gist of it. It basically just comes down to how much effort you're willing to put into, selecting all the items, or not items, but pieces, and designating them into layers. But yeah, I hope that helps you guys out, and I hope that made sense. Say you're doing this in a different program, there might be a little bit different workflow, but the general concept is the same. I know one thing that's nice about Photoshop is that it draws a straight line whenever you click, so you can do like this. In some other programs, it might not be like that. It might be more of like a Bezier curve or something akin to this, where you have to, actually draw it out and be a little more precise. But yeah, I mean, there's also ways around it too. Another way of selecting items, you have your magic wand tool here, and most programs do have this same tool. With this, We'll just select that for instance. See how it just selected the pieces right there? And see how it didn't do as good of a job here. Say we wanted it to, it seems like it's too weak, the tolerance, and so it's just not grabbing this over here. You can adjust the tolerance level right here. Here are your like tool parameters. So let's just crank that up to 20 and see what happens. Yeah, so it did a little bit better, and if you wanted to snag that little inner piece, you would just hit shift and grab it right there. It's a little less perfect. You can see there's some pretty jagged edges there due to like some pixelation and whatnot. But if you really wanted to, you could mess with these settings here. You can mess with the point sample right here. I would just leave it at its basic, thing. You also have anti-aliasing here, and so anti-aliasing is just how well it deals with edges. So see like that. Just to give you an example, hit this again, select it, and see how much more, how much that helped the anti-aliasing. So yeah. Go ahead and play around with these. There's definitely multiple ways to do the same thing in any program. But yeah, that is the end of the tutorial. Hope that helps you guys out. And if you guys use this, go ahead and post it in the Facebook group. I'd love to see it. Alright, well that's it for me. Hope you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.